to go.
I'm sorry. I hope you will find comfort in knowing that you did the right thing.
When I want to move on in my life, those are not your kids. When I want to be up under you, those are your kids. You love them and you love me and you stay with us and everything. We're family with as long as he's getting what he wants. When I don't want to be with him and I want to go and do my own thing, oh, those not my kids. I need a DNA test.
I don't remember signing the birth certificate. I think she signed it.
You're
I think
lying.
she signed it because
In the state of Michigan, when you get ready to sign that birth certificate, they hand me your ID.
In a jaw-dropping episode of Paternity Court, the stakes are high as Ms. Thompson confronts Mr. Smithby, the man she claims abandoned her and their children. The suspense builds as paternity tests are sought for both Legend and Radiance, while a significant amount of child-rearing expenses hangs in the balance.
Ms. Thompson, you claim Mr. Smithby abandoned you and your children, forcing you to drop out of nursing school and leaving you to struggle as a single mother. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You've come to court seeking paternity tests for both of your children, Legend and Radiance.
Yes, Your Honor.
Additionally, you are suing the defendant for child-rearing expenses in the amount of $2,000.
Yes, Your Honor.
In a chaotic courtroom exchange, Mr. Smithby and Ms. Thompson clash over their tumultuous past. Allegations of abandoned responsibilities and questionable fatherhood fly back and forth, leaving the audience wondering who will emerge victorious. The tension escalates as their conflicting stories keep everyone on the edge of their seats.
Like I would call and text, ask, can I see her? Do you need anything?
He
Can I
knew
come
where I
over?
stayed
And
at. His family members knew where I stayed at. He
That's
also
not true.
popped up to my house several times while I was pregnant with Legend.
That's not true, Your Honor. I came over once and actually someone was there. That's when I felt like maybe he was the father because he was there playing the father role.
How did you know that person was playing the daddy role if when you came, they left?
Because,
Thank
I
you.
mean, the way he would, when I came, he left like.
In a heated exchange, Ms. Thompson and Mr. Smithby confront their troubled relationship and failed attempts at co-parenting. Accusations of infidelity and broken promises add fuel to the fiery confrontation. Their emotional battle over the fate of their child grips the audience, leaving everyone wondering if they can find common ground.
The whole time
And I asked him,
can't
did he
see
want a
him.
DNA
Did
test?
she ask you about having a DNA test at the hospital?
No, she did.
Yes, I did.
And from that moment, once Legend came home, is he in his life, Ms. Thompson?
Not for the past couple of months. They haven't seen him.
And it's not my fault. I haven't seen him. She told me to stop coming around. So if you don't want me to come to your house, I'm not going to come there.
You told him to stop coming around?
Because I don't want to be with him because he don't want to be faithful to me. I don't want to be with him.
In a dramatic turn of events, Mr. Smithby presents compelling evidence to prove that he is not the biological father of Legend. A visual exhibit showcasing shoulder measurements stirs excitement and disbelief among the audience. Ms. Thompson counters the claim, adding to the tension as the truth remains uncertain.
Does he think you're his dad?
He know that's his daddy.
Your Honor, I brought evidence to show you that Legend is not mine.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
And I have
Is
evidence
this
that
the
he was
exhibit?
there.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, as you can see, this is me right here. This is Legend. As you can see, my family, we have broad shoulders, 44 inches
Your
wide.
family.
This is my shoulder one, 44 inches wide. My other children, they have
No, they
14 inches wide shoulder length.
The same
Legend is
children tell me want a
8.5
DNA
inches
test.
wide. He doesn't have broad shoulders at all, so.
The tension escalates as the question of Legend's true father is raised. Despite Mr. Smithby's claim, Legend refers to him as Dad. Ms. Thompson insists there is someone else involved, adding more intrigue to the situation. As they discuss Radiance's conception, conflicting accounts create further suspense, leaving the audience eager to discover the truth.
Who does he think his father is?
Mr. Smithby, it's his father. That's who he calls Dad.
It is?
Yes.
So he calls you daddy.
Yes, he does. He does. But at the same time, she has someone else playing.
Who is
certain-
someone else?
What does he ask for his dad?
But I know Legend is missing him because he also say, I'm going to tell my daddy on you whenever I do something to him. He's like, I'm going to tell my daddy. So I know that.
In a heart-wrenching moment, Ms. Thompson passionately points out the striking physical similarities between Mr. Smithby and their daughter, Radiance. The tension builds as they examine the evidence, with emotions running high. As they scrutinize Radiance's features, the audience is left in suspense, waiting to see how this revelation will impact the paternity case.
Is she on your exhibit
She
too?
got
Yeah,
your
she is on there.
ears,
She's
she
on
has
my
your
exhibit.
eyes, she has your nose, she has all that. Everything of you she has.
As you
Your
can-
skin
it's
complexion.
It's another cartoon picture,
Your
but look,
skin
hers is
complexion,
7.8
your-
inches
look, and her
wide.
shoulders look broader
Not
than Legend's
broad at
shoulders,
all.
so I
She
don't
doesn't have broad
understand.
shoulders at all, so that's why I feel like she's
Broad,
Showed me.
not broad, not broad.
Yes.
In a dramatic courtroom revelation, the truth unfolds as Mr. Smithbay is confirmed as the father of both Legend and Radiance. The tension reaches its peak as the results are announced, leaving the audience on the edge of their seats. Ms. Thompson's emotional relief and realization add to the intense atmosphere, creating an unforgettable moment on paternity court.
Mr. Smithbay, you are his father. Mr. Smithbay, you are the father. I told you I saw the ears. That's all I gotta say. No, really. These are your children. And I can see, Ms. Thompson, that what do you feel, relieved or vindicated?
To be honest, just that I was falling for the wrong person.
In a riveting episode of Paternity Court, the explosive case of Coleman versus Coleman unfolds before a captivated audience. With a 7-year marriage on the line, Mr. Coleman accuses his wife of cheating and carrying another man's child. Meanwhile, Ms. Coleman fervently defends her fidelity and hopes for reconciliation. Tensions soar as the truth awaits its dramatic reveal.
Mr. Coleman, you say your 7-year marriage is on the rocks because you claim to have proof your wife cheated and is pregnant by another man. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You say you will ask for a divorce when the results prove your case.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Coleman, you say you know your husband is your unborn child's father and hope your husband will learn to let your past be your past.
In a powerful and emotional moment on Paternity Court, Ms. Coleman bravely shares her past struggle with addiction and low self-esteem. Despite feeling unworthy, she found comfort in Mr. Coleman's affirmations and stayed by his side. The audience is drawn into this heartfelt revelation, waiting anxiously to see how it unfolds in this gripping case.
You kept her in a safe place
Yes.
so she could be clean.
Yes.
Is that how it happened?
Yes, Your Honor. When I first met him, I was 3 months pregnant, and we were in addiction. Now, being that I didn't want to feel anything and I didn't deem myself worthy of anything, the things that he was saying to me like brought the connection. You know, like he would tell me, you don't have to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I stayed around for that.
Mr. Coleman opens up about discovering Ms. Coleman's pregnancy and an STD at the same time. The audience is left in suspense, wondering how this revelation will impact the paternity case. Ms. Coleman admits to her past mistakes and infidelity, adding to the intensity of the moment. The tension rises as the truth unfolds in this gripping episode.
At some point, you realize you're pregnant and it's within the marriage, but there's questions as to the paternity.
Yes.
What's going on then?
And the STD, you know what I'm saying? That's a real big thing. That was a head knocker. Right?
Hold on. I want to understand that. So wait a minute. You find out Ms. Coleman is pregnant, your wife.
The STD at the same time.
And when you find that out, you also find out she contracted an STD.
Yes.
In a chaotic twist, doubts about paternity have pushed Mr. and Ms. Coleman's marriage to the brink. Addiction, a serious issue they both faced, adds another layer of complexity. Seeking clarity, the court brings in an expert, Dr. Drew Pinsky, renowned for his experience in this area. The audience eagerly awaits his input, anticipating a pivotal moment in the case.
Most of you have dealt with something very serious, which is addiction. And it's not a game.
You're right.
We know addiction affects not only the parties, but also their families and their children.
Yes.
Because of that, I wanted to call upon an expert that has a lot of experience in this particular subject area. And I'd like to get his input before we proceed. Joining us in court today is Dr. Drew Pinsky. Hi, Dr. Drew, can you hear me?
With emotions running high and the stakes at their peak, the court seeks the expertise of Dr. Drew Pinsky. His advice becomes crucial for the couple's troubled marriage. While couples therapy might be costly, Dr. Drew suggests free 12-step programs. His powerful reminder of the significance of sobriety serves as a turning point in their journey to healing.
Ideally, we'd love them to be into couples therapy, but that's costly. But there's 12-step programs that are free. Get your sponsor, capitulate. In Mrs. Coleman's case, it will be a woman. She should have at least 5 to 10 years of sobriety herself. Mr. Coleman, I'm sure you already have a sponsor.
Yes.
Listen to what they say and follow their direction. It is free. Your sobriety, your life depends upon your sobriety.
In the thrilling case of Coleman versus Coleman, the court stands on the brink of discovering the truth about the unborn child's father. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation, and the audience awaits the moment of truth with bated breath. The stakes are high, and the outcome remains uncertain, adding to the suspense of the proceedings.
Mr. Coleman, you are the father.
No more comments.
Congratulations.
Thank you. No more comments, none of that no more.
Can we move forward now?
Yes,
We can
ma'am.
move forward.
Yes.
I'm glad we could be here for you in this time.
Thank you.
In this explosive case of paternity court, tensions run high as Ms. McKenzie accuses Mr. Guy of abandoning their daughter, Nia, and denying her paternity due to his alleged overwhelming number of children. The courtroom is gripped with curiosity as the truth unfolds, and the audience eagerly awaits the revelation that could change everything.
Ms. McKenzie, you say Mr. Guy abandoned you and your daughter, Anaya, soon after she was born, and denies he's her father only because he already has too many kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Guy, you say you knew this wasn't your child from the moment Ms. McKenzie said she was pregnant. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. McKenzie, when did you first realize that he denied he was your daughter's father?
Mr. Guy admits to sleeping with Ms. McKenzie without protection, but denies being the father. He claims he knew it from the moment the baby was born. However, Ms. McKenzie points out conflicting statements he made at the hospital. The court is left wondering why Mr. Guy denies this adorable baby, while both parties continue to trade accusations and confrontations.
Why did you say it wasn't yours? Were you sleeping with her?
I was sleeping
Were
with
you
her.
using protection?
No, Your Honor.
So how do you think you're excluded from possibility?
Like when the baby was born, I was at the hospital and looked at the baby. I said, this ain't my baby.
When we was at the hospital, he said my baby looked like his mom and his grandma. That's what he said.
Did you say that at the hospital, Mr. Guy?
I don't recall saying that.
So why are you denying this beautiful baby?
The courtroom is on edge as Mr. Guy shares his doubts, revealing mysterious encounters with a man at their apartment while he was off work early. He confronts Ms. McKenzie about it, but she denies anyone being there. However, weeks later, the same man is spotted on their couch, deepening the mystery.
One time I was getting off of work. They let me off work at maybe like 6 a.m. and I usually get off at 7. So I pulls up to the house and I looked at my phone, then looked back up and there was a dude standing right there. I'm like, where did he come from? And I said, okay, well, it's an apartment. So he might have came out of any one of those apartments in front of our apartment. So I go in there and ask her, was somebody here? No, nobody wasn't here.
Ms. McKenzie passionately defends herself, expressing her desire to build a strong family unit and expecting equal effort from Mr. Guy. She yearns for a harmonious relationship with his other children and encourages him to be responsible and get a job instead of getting drunk.
I feel like if we're adults and we live together, we're trying to build a family, you should be doing your part as much as I'm doing my part. If we're a unit, we're a unit. And if he's slacking, I feel like I should have to build him up if he's slacking. I'm gonna tell you, get it together. If I'm stressing you, it's because I wanna help our family. If you got all these other kids, I don't ever say, like, I'm not mean to his other kids. I want my kids to meet his other kids. You know, I want them to be able to play with their brothers and sisters, not grow up dating their brothers and sisters.
Tensions rise as Mr. Guy questions the consistency of Ms. McKenzie's statements, claiming there could be other possibilities. Ms. McKenzie vehemently denies any involvement with someone else and expresses her frustration at Mr. Guy's lack of involvement in their daughter's life.
You were not sleeping with anyone else?
No,
There's no other possibility?
No.
Mr. Guy?
I think it's a lot of possibilities.
Why do you think there are a lot of possibilities?
Everything she's saying is inconsistent. Because like I said, I was there.
You was not there.
But
no birthdays, no Christmases, nothing.
He hasn't spent Christmas or
Nothing.
birthday?
She don't know who he is.
She doesn't acknowledge him?
He comes to our city where we live, and I have to call him and say, do you want your kids here? Yeah, I come and get them. He never showed up.
Emotions run high as Ms. McKenzie opens up about her anger and regrets in their troubled relationship. She admits to making mistakes, but vehemently denies any infidelity. She desperately yearns for Mr. Guy's presence in their daughter's life and hopes for a genuine gesture on her birthday.
I get so angry at myself. Like, I don't ask him for money. I don't ask him for anything but time. I get so angry at myself because maybe I did make some mistakes in our relationship. Not as far as like sleeping with other people, but being a B, you know, like cussing him out or getting angry because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to for our family. So yes, maybe if I stressed him out, it was because I was angry. And I'm angry at myself that I allowed myself to get pregnant by him when I knew that maybe he wasn't capable of.
The courtroom is filled with suspense as the moment of truth approaches. Mr. Guy and Ms. McKenzie anxiously await the paternity results that could change their lives forever. Emotions run high as Judge Lake reveals the outcome, leaving both parties in shock. The audience is left hanging, eagerly anticipating the next steps and how this revelation will shape their future.
Mr. Guy, you are her father. Now what, Mr. Guy? Speak.
I feel pretty much ashamed. I would like to be a father to her.
So what are you gonna do? Where are we gonna go from here?
Gotta first start by making up time
Yes.
with her, my daughter.
Yes.
In this episode of Paternity Court, Mr. Jones and his mother bring Ms. Milan to court, accusing her of deceitfully claiming that their 3-month-old son, Quinnell Jr., is his biological child. They seek DNA results to prove the truth, and Mr. Jones demands reimbursement for expenses incurred.
Mr. Jones, you and your mother are co-plaintiffs who have brought the defendant, Ms. Milan, to court to prove her 3-month-old son, Quinnell Jr., is not your biological child.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you took Ms. Milan and her other 6 kids into your home, and now she's trying to take you for a ride by claiming this baby is yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
In a riveting twist, Ms. Milan reveals that she stopped sleeping with her ex when she began a relationship with Mr. Jones. The tension escalates as Judge Lake questions whether they discussed the potential consequences of unprotected sex. Shockingly, Mr. Jones claims he was told by a doctor that he couldn't have children, adding more layers to the intriguing case.
We can make something happen.
Once I started sleeping with Mr. Jones, I was no longer sleeping with my ex.
You knew that a likely consequence of having unprotected sex would be that you would become pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you discuss that with Mr. Jones?
He always said he couldn't have children, said the doctor told him.
Why'd you say you couldn't have children, Mr. Jones?
Because I used to play sports in school.
In a chaotic revelation, Mr. Jones admits that he left home after an argument with Ms. Milan, only to run into his ex at a bar the very next day. Judge Lake humorously points out that exes always seem to appear in such situations. Ms. Milan accuses Mr. Jones of frequently being with his ex during their relationship.
When I left, I didn't come back home from the bar. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute.
What happened
So
was
now-
she ended up going through my phone or whatever like that, and she seen that I ended up conversating with my ex, so they started an argument. So I left that day, and when I left, I went to a bar with my friends or whatever like that. My ex so happened to appear there.
He didn't leave.
Appear.
He left the prior. He left the day
Those
after.
exes always appear.
Mr. Jones reveals that when he learned Ms. Milan had stopped taking her birth control, he took action and gave his son condoms. The uncertainty about the child's paternity lingers, and Mr. Jones emphasizes his commitment to be there for his child regardless of the results. He expresses his determination to create memories and be a present father.
I found out she stopped taking the birth control. The first thing I done was I gave my son some condoms because she have 6 kids already and I know she's fertile. Use them.
Did you use them, Mr. Jones?
No.
No.
When you found out she was pregnant, even though she said it could be yours or it could be my ex's, did you step up?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
Because
I
you
wanted to
knew-
make sure. I wanted to make sure if it was a possibility of being my child.
In an emotional plea, Ms. Milan shares her hopes and fears about the paternity of her son. She prays that the child belongs to Mr. Jones, who has been there for her and the baby from the beginning. Mr. Jones's dedication is evident, even though he hasn't yet signed the birth certificate.
You did sleep with both men during the window of conception.
Yes, I did.
And so, Ms. Milan, what are your hopes for today?
I'm praying, like when I first found out, and I was like, God, please don't let this be, my ex child, even to the point where I was like, I'm gonna give it up for adoption if I could just know off the muscle that it was his, But I put it in God's hands, and I was like, I told Mr. Jones, and he stepped up immediately, like.
In an emotional turn of events, the court reaches the crucial moment when the paternity test results are about to be revealed. Both Mr. Jones and Ms. Milan anxiously wait for the truth to be unveiled, with their emotions running high. The tension in the room is palpable as everyone holds their breath, awaiting the life-changing verdict.
Mr. Jones, you are not the father. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You okay, Mr. Jones?
I'm ready to go.
I'm sorry. I hope you will find comfort.
We often say looks can be deceiving, but they can also push people to the edge of confusion. Take Mr. Brown, for instance. The guy was standing in paternity court acting all frantic because the child looked nothing like him, and he couldn't continue to step up as a father without DNA proof.
My hairline's straight. He's like an arrow.
All right, hold on.
That don't mean nothing.
Hold on. Miss Parker, Mr. Brown.
I mean, obviously, you know that's your baby.
It's time to step up, be a man. Damn, I mean, do what you have to do for your child.
Okay, that was amusing to watch, but that is not how the whole thing started. After meeting Miss Parker, Lithonia's man figured that he had finally met the love of his life. But the whole movie romance got ruined when she claimed to get pregnant within just 4 days of them getting together.
We loved each other very much. Then later on, she just started doing things. I remember one time later on in the relationship, I called her. I couldn't get in contact with her. I called her parents. I don't know shit. I called her dad. He was at work. I don't know where she at.
Wait, you had a relationship and it was going well, and then she disappeared?
Yeah, just one day I decided to call, and I was like,
Yeah. Pregnant and disappearing into thin air. It was like she wanted to step into paternity denial. But in the plaintiff's defense, too much attention from her boyfriend just made her feel suffocated, and she had to take a break from him. Let's just play along.
Your Honor, I object. I feel like that I need to be free, because at the end of the day,
I wasn't doing anything.
What you mean? I be stuck with the baby 24/7, honey, because
but I have to go to work and do stuff, so I'm supposed to be
you don't go to work.
Hold on. Indeed, this just added more to the confusion, so the judge asked the baby mama to degloss what she had been really up to. So Miss Parker continued that her many insecurities and trust issues pushed her to leave the house at just a drop of a hat.
You saying you got to a point in the relationship where you felt smothered?
Where I felt like I couldn't go nowhere. Where I felt like I just stuck in the house 24/7. He just want to lay up under me, and I cannot go anywhere.
Are you serious?
Yes, Your Honor.
No.
Mr. Brown, you thought she was out with another man during this time?
I don't know what she was doing. She never told me anything. I call, no answer. I text, no answer. Call people, call parents. No one knows where she's at.
Going under the radar just like it does no good to anyone. However, instead of baby mama's odd way of dealing with her relationship, focus on the pregnancy part. Trunks out that though Mr. Brown loved the child and his mother, he refused to sign the birth certificate.
I was in the delivery room.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
I didn't sign the birth certificate.
Did you have a doubt?
Yes, a 50% doubt.
That's a big one.
Yes.
So you couldn't bring yourself to sign the birth certificate because you knew you had a doubt?
Yes.
What was that doubt based on?
Then the dates, they're not adding up.
You said the dates are not adding up? What about the dates didn't add up?
Well, like she said, she got pregnant during June. The baby was born in January.
See, there came the mess up in the dates part, and we know that when such notes hit, the judge takes out her conception calendar, and it showed that the baby was delivered at only 7 months. Nevertheless, the plaintiff claimed that her baby was premature.
So your testimony is that he was born early?
Yes,
very early.
Yes, he was born
very
early.
That still doesn't matter about the dates because he was born early?
What you mean? Yes, it does. I had high blood pressure and I had heart problems.
Still.
You understand what it means to be premature, right?
The dates doesn't matter. You're still the father.
The dates don't matter.
What you mean it doesn't matter?
Dates matter. They do matter a lot, Missy. Feeling and believing don't change paternity, do they? By now, it seemed like this mommy's assertion was based on her preferences rather than reality. Unfortunately, her brother also sided with her.
Is that he has trust issues, he has insecurity problems. Obviously, a blind man can see that. That's his child. I mean, look at the baby, look at him. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I don't even know why we're here today.
Yeah, why are you here?
Obviously, you know that's your baby. It's time to step up, be a man. Damn, I mean, do what you have to do for your child. It's time to do something right.
I am doing what I do for my child.
What do you do?
About the insecurity part, Mr. Brown testified that all of his suspensions were instigated by her girlfriend in the first place, and no matter how hard he wanted his relationship to work, he could shake off the habit of disappearing.
I just wanna, I love him. I love him to death, but it's just this insecurity.
If you just tell me where you going, then I wouldn't have no
I always
reason
tell him, Your Honor, when I come back.
How come you? Oh, when you come back.
Him.
Not when you're going. It's a difference in coming back and going.
No, it's not.
It was clear that the couple loved each other a lot and wanted the baby to connect them rather than drifting them apart. And that is what paternity court is all about. You know, picking up skeletons so people could move forward and start. Let's see if the environment has what they've been hoping for.
Mr. Brown, you are not Malachi's father. And I will give you the results of the lie detector test, okay? So in fact, her testimony that she had never cheated on you during the relationship was in fact true.
Hereditary hand deformity popped Miss Smith's bubble in the worst way possible. In any case, there was a chance that a stranger was her father, and this had women in pieces. Not knowing who to blame, the plaintiff started her testimony like this.
How'd you find out that he may not be and Mr. Jackson could be?
It was just one day at the house. My mom was just first kidding around, and then it got kind of serious after I had my child, who was born with 6 fingers, and that's when she actually told me that Mr. Jackson also had the 6 fingers as well. So it kind of ran in the family.
Finding out this bitter reality was a lot for the young woman, but she wasn't the only victim in this whole saga. Mr. Jackson was also outraged over the whole being left out for 28 years because he had evidence of being Kissimmee woman's father.
Can we see your hands?
I don't have no 6 fingers.
Oh, okay.
And Miss Smith, is it only one child? How many children do you have that have this trait?
2. The one I have now.
The child you're pregnant with?
Yes.
You can see it on the ultrasound?
Yes. And I also have a picture of my son's hand as well, and the doctor
Jerome,
even told me that it runs in the family.
If it is hereditary, then it leaves no doubt about Mr. Jackson being the father. But only if things were this simple. Apparently, Mr. Thompson had also done his research and claimed that there was also a chance that 6th fingers weren't passed genetically.
In your heart that she's your child, and yet this physical trait, this 6th finger that her child has.
Your Honor, I did research, okay? I did my research on this 6 finger thing.
Let me see this.
It's hereditary.
Right? And it's not, okay, that's some
And your research says what?
This is just a mess. So we went back to look at how all of this, instead of in the first palace, turns out that Miss Galaviz had warped both men around her fingers, while they both had no idea about it. And when she got pregnant, she picked that defendant instead of Mr. Jackson.
What'd you think?
I thought I knew because when I was with Mr. Jackson, Mr. Jackson, we went together like over a year, and I didn't get pregnant, so I didn't figure, that he would be the father because I had met Mr. Thompson. And like in a couple of months, I got pregnant.
Even though the guy at the altar wasn't the pick, he kept coming back for the child as he had a strong hunch that the baby could be his. But every time he came, Mr. Jackson was pushed back by the mama as she didn't want him around.
What happened? Are you pregnant? Yeah, it's not yours. She was very sarcastic. And I was like, okay. So I left well enough alone. I kept track of the time and everything. And when she gave birth to the young lady, I went there.
To the hospital?
Yes. Again, I was told, she's not your daughter.
But Mr. Jackson didn't stop there. He went to the lengths of contacting Mr. Thompson and telling him that he was also the possibility. Wow, what a guy. Still, he wasn't led around the young woman for this long, and now she stood at the podium also blaming him for neglection.
And I'm sitting here today listening to him say that she said that he couldn't be at the hospital, whatnot, and I was there, and you asked me to leave? I'm not nowhere in this picture.
However, Miss Galaviz refused to paint as the villain in the situation in her words. Both men knew about the plaintiff and chose not to step, which was reason enough for her to not depend on them when it came to bringing her daughter up.
The issue when a woman has told me this is not my child. How am I going to push the issue?
But you knew that you had a relationship with me. You still could have came and tried it.
So what you're saying is despite the fact that I was telling you one story,
right,
you should have done something else.
Yes, Your Honor. He could have came for it just like I could have did.
How could I?
But he didn't do it.
Both men were upset about being labeled as the deadbeat, and Mommy had a hard time being portrayed as a bad mother, but they were all ignoring the fact that this was not about the trial was held to bring closure to the young plaintiff. So let's see if the result serves that purpose.
Galaviz, Smith versus Thompson, Jackson, when it comes to 28-year-old Keyshawn Smith, it has been determined that her biological father is Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank Jesus. Thank you.
Apologize, Ronald.
I'm so sorry, baby, I wasn't there.
Mr. Jackson, you're okay?
What would be your reaction if you tapped into the conversation of your wife revealing paternity secrets? As you can see in this case, such conversation led to Miss Jacobs being abandoned on her very 14th birthday. And today she demands an explanation for such brutal treatment by her father.
Ms. Jacobs, you claim that your world was shattered just after your 14th birthday when your dad suddenly up and disappeared.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today you say you've brought him to our courtroom to demand answers.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, things got crummy when intoxicated mommy dropped the bombshell of paternity, not knowing that the truth was being heard by her husband. Alcohol shots hit hard on the eavesdropping better half.
We were outside celebrating with 4th of July. I heard an argument inside the house. So I go in to see what's going on, and my ex-wife, her mother and her sister was in there, and she was screaming at her mother like, well, she was drinking, so she was being belligerent and stuff. She's like, well, you know there's a chance they're not his kids, and I don't know what to do.
However, it slipped that the plaintiff was unaware of the wicked present her mother got for her. It turned out that her mother's confession ruined her life, but she blamed her daddy for bad events in her life, so she cried her heart out in the letter like this.
No, I actually just seen him walk out of the house. He was really angry, so I didn't understand what was going on at all. So after that, we ended up being put in foster care. And when I was in foster care, my father had left. And we were in Florida at the time. He ended up moving to Ohio.
Man, that was heart-shattering, as it was apparent that Miss Jacobs was paying for her mother's false actions. Further, it came out that the young girl's daddy issues destructed her into getting pregnant at 16 due to the damage her mother caused, and no one bothered to support her. Poor child.
I didn't understand until I was 16 years old. It was really hard. I actually ended up getting pregnant when I was 16 just to be emancipated.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you got pregnant on purpose?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's obvious that you were looking for the family you didn't have.
Yes, Your Honor.
Up next, the defendant said that the plaintiff's mother's infidelity had ripped him apart from his daughter, as numerous times he caught her cheating on him. He stated that once her co-worker spilled the beans about his wife swindling, so he put his detective hat on and caught her red-handed like this.
So I go out looking for her, and I start out at the Walmart where I normally know that she goes, and I caught a guy down there that I knew worked with her at her job. And I asked him if he had seen her. He's like, well, no, she's probably hanging out with this guy that she's always meeting.
Wow. I guess mommy had a nerve, as Ms. Jacob revealed that at the hospital, she demanded her father to be there for her, but the woman gave her a shut-up call with, "He was not your father." Her heart exploded again.
When I was 16, I told my mother that I didn't want to be around anymore, that I wanted my dad to come down for my daughter's birth, her birth. I had her when I was 17. And when my mom found out, she was like, I don't know why you would want him to be there. He's not your real father. Anyways, that means he's not her grandfather.
Dude, I feel bad for the young girl as her happiness and peace have been robbed by her mother, but it was not enough yet, because further it got slipped that the daughter caught her mother sleeping with one of her acquaintances. And when she blurted out, mommy acted innocent.
My dad was at work, my mom was home, and a family member of mine came over to the house. They ended up taking a shower together. I went into the bathroom, I was like, Mom, what are you doing? She goes, I'm just getting a shower, go away. So I went into the living room, I was watching TV, I was watching cartoons, I'm a little 5-year-old. So I went, and when they came out of the bathroom, they went into the bedroom.
Further, the plaintiff disclosed that after years when her father contacted her back, she thrashed him in a rage, but he did not give up and explained the whole saga. She felt awful.
When I actually just got back in contact with my father after 5 years just a month ago.
Really?
Yes. So he did show me all the paperwork and everything like that. I felt horrible. I really did, because I told him I wanted nothing to do with him. So I felt like the most horriblest daughter on the face of the earth. I felt like I didn't deserve to be around my dad at that point in time.
Therefore, it was obvious that Miss Jacobs' life was botched up by her mother, yet she mustered up the courage to explore the answers she needed, and both parties were ready to ride on the paternity riddle. So let's get those results and see if they had a happy ending or not.
Mr. Walker, you are Aisha's father.
I love you.
Well, I hope that now that you have the truth.
Babies are having babies. Get ready for a roller coaster ride of love and drama. Picture this. A high school sweetheart gets pregnant, but now the man denies being the father. What's even crazier is that he suspects his friend might be the dad. Hold on tight, because this case is about to take a wild turn. We're diving into a battle where children are caught in the crossfire. What could have happened that made him question his friend's involvement? Ms. Shands, devastated by her first love's denial, only wants one thing: to reunite her family. Will she succeed? Let's find out.
Ms. Shands, you appear in court today because you are devastated that your first love and the person you lost your virginity to is now denying your 15-month-old son, Aiden. You say once you prove to the defendant that he is the father, you hope you two can finally be a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Meet Ms. Shands, the queen of mystery. Her ex-boyfriend claims she's a pathological liar and has cheated on him multiple times. No wonder he's questioning if the son is his. But here's the twist. After just one fight, she starts messing around with his friend. Ms. Shands doesn't deny it. She finds it amusing because he did the same with her friend. Well, they say what goes around comes around. And this time, it's all fun and games until she finds out she's pregnant. Brace yourself for the next chapter of this tangled web.
That, like, when we had got into that one argument, we broke up, and then that was that, and she started messing with my homeboy, and she started messing with multiple people.
Your Honor, me and his was close friends once before.
They was, but they
used to come back and tell me that Mr. Amir, he was messing with one of my friends.
Hold on tight because we're diving into the depths of a scandalous affair. Ms. Shands was secretly involved with both boys. Scandalous, right? But here's the real shocker. She claims the child belongs to Mr. Hollis, not the other guy. But wait, there's more. She told Mr. Hollis and his mother thought that the baby could be the other man's, but conveniently forgot to mention it to him. What's the motive behind this confusing game? It's a puzzle no one can crack. Get ready to unravel the truth.
You find out you're pregnant. You tell the other guy first. What was his response?
Well, he was happy. He was happy. I told him, like, not as soon as I got pregnant. He ended up finding out on the street.
The judge is scratching their head in confusion. Ms. Shands is keeping a secret from the other man, the potential father of her child. She claims he already suspected it and heard rumors on the streets with people saying the kid looks like Mr. Hollis, but she never came clean. And guess what? Mr. Hollis even wrote a song about their beef. Ah, the ways of the young generation. They express their feelings through music. Can this tangled web of secrets ever be untangled? Let's find out.
At what point do you just say, you know what, I don't think you're the father. I think Mr. Hollis is my child's father. Do you ever have that conversation? Do you ever just come clean?
With the friend?
Yeah.
No, I never even talked to him about it.
Amidst the chaos, there's something undeniably beautiful about this case. Regardless of whether Mr. Hollis is the biological father or not, a bond has formed between him, his mother, and the little boy. The child's face lights up when he sees them, and they adore him. It's a connection that could last a lifetime, defying biology. Prepare for an emotional journey that explores the power of love and family bonds.
Mr. Hollis, what kind of relationship do you have with Aiden?
It's a real strong relationship. Like, I got attached, like, real fast. I can't even, he loved me. Like, every time I come around.
So you have a real bond with this baby. Miss Shands, has this other guy developed a relationship with Aiden as well?
Not as really. Like,
Drum roll, please. The moment of truth has arrived. Is Mr. Hollis the real father or not? The judge unveils the DNA reports and it's official. Mr. Hollis is not the biological dad. The revelation hits Ms. Shands hard, knowing that her child has formed a bond with Mr. Hollis and his mother. Now, it's time for Ms. Shands to reflect and make wiser decisions as she navigates the path ahead. Will she find a way to keep her family united? Let's hope for the best.
Mr. Hollis, you are not the father. I see tears in your eyes, Ms. Shands, because I know how desperately you wanted Mr. Hollis to be Aiden's biological father. Their families formed a bond with your son.
A heartfelt quest for closure that's been decades in the making. Yep, this plaintiff was tired of all the lies and this journey in search of her real father. She wanted some answers, and today she was about to meet a man who could be her potential father.
Ms. Hannon, you grew up believing one man was your father until the age of 13 when he said, "I am not your daddy." Your mother then told you on her deathbed that another man, the defendant David Dorsey, is your biological father. You are here to prove paternity, and you have never spoken to but will meet him for the very first time today. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
A stunning deathbed confession led Ms. Hannon on a quest of a lifetime. She had heard of Mr. Dorsey in the past, but never laid eyes on him until now. All this time, she believed another to be the father, but he shut that down cruelly.
Well, I believe David Dorsey is my biological father, but I grew up with my grandparents and my mom. Like you said, I was known for a man named Kimball to be my dad. I called him one day for the daddy-daughter dance, and instead of his response being, "Yes, I'll be there," it was, "Your mother's still lying to you. I'm not your dad. You need to go find your real dad."
Mr. Dorsey graced the court with his presence, finally. However, he walked right past the potential daughter without a second glance, and that didn't go unnoticed. Yep, the judge saw it, but what he revealed next took the cake in being one of the shocking revelations.
To meet the man you believe you've been told is your true biological biological father?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Jerome, please escort Mr. Dorsey in the courtroom. Mr. Dorsey.
How you doing?
Thank you for joining us today. This young woman has waited many, many years to meet you. She's been told that you are her biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
You walked through the doors, you walked right past her, no hug. You didn't even really look at her, acknowledge her.
I acknowledged her. I looked at her.
Let's take a minute to soak in the sheer, unadulterated bizarrity of this situation. I mean, seriously, Mr. Dorsey denied having any contact with Ms. Veronica ever. Even after the witness from the plaintiff's side recognized him, yeah, he still held his ground.
From our conversations that we used to have is like they talked, like they weren't in a relationship, I guess. Like they talked here and there. I knew that he worked at a fast food restaurant. He was a manager at a fast food restaurant from her, and like I said, they just, I guess, talked, mingled here and there type of
Mr. Dorsey, were you a manager at a fast food restaurant?
No, ma'am, but I worked at a fast food restaurant.
You worked at one?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, folks, if you thought that was the end of it, you were sorely mistaken. Mr. Dorsey had a different last name in the past, and no, he didn't reveal that information. The godmother did that, but he accepted that chunk of information, and yet, he still maintained he didn't know the baby mama. Oh my God. The level of denial here.
I'm talking about a David. That's your dad.
Oh wait, this is David Dorsey. You said David Watkins.
It was a David
My name
Watkins.
used to be David Watkins. I was adopted, and he changed my name to Watkins, and then when I got grown, I changed my name back to my dad's name.
So now it's getting even more closely connected to you.
I mean, I was well known in the North End. I mean, everybody knew my name.
So what are you thinking? You thinking this woman just made this up?
Your Honor, I don't know this woman.
Next up, we get to hear from Mr. Dorsey's daughter, and the moment she entered, she made a beeline for the plaintiff and hugged her. It was a beautiful moment, made even more when she immediately testified she was there to bring her sister home. Furthermore, she revealed the true character of her father's dearest and his days in the past.
You know we are here discussing the paternity as it relates to Ms. Hannon.
Yes, I'm here to claim my sister. That's my sister. I don't mean to disrespect my dad, but my dad was a Rolling Stone, okay? So he was the man, and he was very known on the North Side for being David Watkins, the slayer of women.
Poor Ms. Hannon was truly torn over all this. On one side, she had a woman claiming her as her sister, while on the other side, a potential father was playing the never have I ever game on expert mode. Talk about being in between a rock and a hard place, right?
Who all remembers every white night stand that I had when they was a kid? So I can't fault him for saying he don't remember.
Because you were told that it was a fling.
Yeah.
And so maybe
he don't remember that fling.
He just
It wasn't
doesn't
the best
remember
fling.
that.
It just might have not been the best for him. He didn't remember it.
I'm sorry. I don't remember having sex with your mom. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
And so you both submitted childhood photos to the court.
Yeah.
The moment of truth was here. It was time to cut through the drama and get to the envelope that held the facts. We're about to lay down the verdict that'll either grant our plaintiff the closure she's been craving or leave us all scratching our heads in disbelief. Here we go.
Mr. Dorsey, you are not the father.
No, I'm not your daughter-in-law. Can you still just be my dad?
It was a real-life Who's the Daddy wedding special edition. The plaintiff had not one, but two potential candidates for the role of dad in her life, and she wanted to find out the truth. The defendants, however, were ready to fight otherwise.
Is your biological father. You hope to leave this courtroom today knowing your father's identity so he can walk you down the aisle at your wedding.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Duncan, you argue that Mr. Kelly's mother was in a relationship with you and another man during the time you dated. Now, while there are paternity questions, you hope you are her biological father.
Moving on, Ms. Kelly took us along her journey of finding out the truth. After a rough teenage years, she got to meet these possible fathers. While one of them was distant, Mr. Duncan thought welcomed her as his nice gesture, but he still had his doubts based upon the circumstance in which he met the baby mama.
I noticed that I was different because they're white and I was brown. My grandmother used to get awkward looks and she would say stuff to people, and sometimes kids gave me trouble at school. And when my grandfather, he got killed when I was 10, so not having that male influence in my life, I started to act out, get in trouble at school and all kind of stuff. And that's when Lariat thought it would be a good idea to let me meet my father.
Mommy Dearest, the perpetrator in all of this, came out with her truth. She did cherish her daughter and wanted her to find closure, as she was the one paying for her mistakes in the past. They both wanted Mr. Duncan to be their guy, but there was still a 50-50 chance of it going sideways.
I made some mistakes, and my mom wound up wanting to step to the plate and raise her. So my mom and my dad raised her, and like I said, when my dad got killed, it really disturbed her. She's seen everything happen, so she started being rebellious towards my mom, and everything showed out in school and all. And I knew it was time. My mom never wanted her to know who her father was.
Next up, the baby daddy stated his case. It seemed after having a row of words with the father of the baby mama, the defendant ended up taking them in. Though he accepted Ms. Destiny as his, the people certainly didn't make it easier.
Me and him had some words. And I ain't gonna say what the words was, but they were no good words.
Understood.
So I told him, I said, well, they can come stay with me. I had my own house, I had my own land, I had a good job, I had a good car, and I wasn't that bad looking.
That's you?
That's me right there.
No, you weren't. You wasn't that bad at all.
No, I wasn't that bad looking.
You did the right thing.
By the looks of it, it wasn't just the people who were giving the baby daddy trouble. The mommy dearest was a whole other trouble as well. Yep, the living arrangement didn't last long after that. And Mr. Duncan lost touch with the plaintiff.
They get mad and the truth will come out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but people will come up to me and say, she said, that ain't your little girl.
I understand. Ms. Kelly, I have to ask you, you started telling people that's not his child.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you told other people she wasn't his child. Did you ever tell him directly?
Well, Your Honor, it's been so long, I really can't recall.
Do you ever recall her telling you directly
Yes,
that's not your child?
Yes, Your Honor, I do recall her
What
telling
happened?
me to my face.
Hold on to your hats, people, because Ms. Kelly's journey isn't over yet. Not at all. As Mr. Anthony, the other potential baby daddy, was still very much in the picture. Now the daughter had an encounter with him as well, but it wasn't pleasant by the sound of it. Let's see.
Probably the most awkward situation I've ever been in my life.
What happened?
We go to knock on this man's door and tell him after 25 years later I might be his child.
No phone call first?
No.
Wow.
I was
you
ready.
knock on the door and what happens?
Lariette introduced us and she just wanted to let him know there might be a chance to see how he felt about it, if he would be willing to take a test with me to give me that closure.
Now the question was, what were the hopes of these guys from today's results? The daughter hoped for a real father so that he could finally meet his grandkids. Such a sweet sentiment. Though Mr. Anthony was initially shocked, the question was now nagging at him, as he had been in the dark for so many years. True that.
And I'm proud for him to have his child, because this, if you ever had a child and you were glad to have a child, this would be one up. So if this is his child, then I know he'll be more than proud for her to be his daughter.
So, Destiny, what are your hopes today?
I hope to find out that one of these two is the father and get some closure. We can hopefully form a relationship. They can get to know my kids.
All the pieces of this paternity puzzle were finally about to fall into place. The grand reveal was here. Let's see whether Ms. Kelly gets to have a father to walk her down the aisle or not. Here we go.
Mr. Anthony is not her father. Mr. Duncan, you are not her father. I'm sorry to you both. I know how much you wanted it. Miss Kelly, how are you feeling?
Confused still.
This was a sizzling story of love, betrayal, and baby daddy drama. The plaintiff claimed the baby daddy was okay with their first child, yet the second one was denied fatherly treatment. The defendant, on the other hand, claimed it to be just another ploy to entrap him.
Your case today because you are furious that the defendant acknowledges your older child, London, yet denies paternity of your 2-month-old daughter, Paris, and does nothing for her. You claim he needs to step up once you prove that he is Paris's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Setting up the tone of betrayal and heartache, Miss Amos sheds light on the fact that Mr. Johnson has been no help in raising their kids. And not just baby Paris, but their first kid, baby London, as well. Apparently, baby London was also deprived of fatherly affection.
No milk. I can get him to do nothing. He don't even acknowledge the fact that my baby is a possibility to be his. He acknowledge her at all, like she don't exist, period.
So wait a minute. You have an older child together, London.
Correct.
He does stuff for that baby.
A little.
Following that train of thought, the baby daddy came up with his testimony. It seemed Ms. Amos had trouble being in a committed relationship. The good old concept of loyalty was lost on this baby mama.
Is you coming with me again tonight? I enjoyed myself. His name saved under a female name.
So are you all in a relationship?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment. But at the time Paris was conceived, you were.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Amos, you were supposed to be in a relationship with Mr. Johnson.
That's correct.
Next up, the baby mama tried to justify her promiscuous behavior by blaming the defendant as he started it. She was just reacting to his actions, apparently. Well, the tit-for-tat game was displaying drastic consequences now.
The day I told him that I was pregnant, he was laying on the couch. I went to the store. I had got a pregnancy test. I took the test. I kind of briefly sat in the bathroom and I cried because at that moment, it was kind of hard, trying to deal with another child. So as I walked out the bathroom, he was laying on the couch. I went up to him, I showed him the pregnancy test. He looked at me and he was like, "It ain't mine," instantly.
Because she's a cheater.
He wasn't ever home.
Time to go on a long rant. The plaintiff admitted to messing around right in the middle of this court, and yet she was firm on the belief that the defendant was her baby daddy. And he was obviously not buying that.
Why are you so sure Mr. Johnson is Paris's biological father when you are admitting in court right now that I was sleeping with somebody else 3 or 4 times a week?
I mean, me and the other guy, we had unprotected sex, but majority of the time we was, using,
a condom?
Yes, ma'am. And when I told Gary that I was pregnant, I was not 3-4 months pregnant.
The plot thickened. The other guy was still in the dark about baby Paris's existence. Wow, Ms. Amos was good at keeping secrets. This was interesting since the witness she brought also just got to know about certain developments in the past.
No, I never mentioned it to the other guy.
So to this day, that guy has no clue.
He don't even know Paris exists.
Leah Bullock. Ms. Bullock, thank you for joining us today. What is your relationship with the plaintiff?
Over the years, me and Kaya have become very close. We met through Gary. He's my first cousin.
All right, so now, do you think your cousin, Mr. Johnson, is Paris's biological father?
Absolutely. She looks just like his other 2 kids.
Fasten your seatbelts, people, as baby mama was about to take us on a wild ride. The court was in session for baby Paris's paternity. But after hearing the witness's testimony from the defendants, more trouble was ahead of the baby mama then.
She don't know who I know.
And not only that, she told me out her own mouth, "This is not your brother's baby." I told him he can go on. So see the thing.
When did she tell you that?
When she was pregnant. And that was enough for me. If someone says that out their mouth, I don't need to hear anything else. And so that's where I was going. I was like, okay, that's not his baby. She said it herself, so.
The baby mama had been quite a busy bee during both of her pregnancies, it seemed. Yep, but now everything was out in the open and it wasn't being received well. Most importantly, Ms. Amos' case was weakening by the second.
So you were having sex with somebody else?
I was.
During the time you found out you were pregnant with London?
I was.
And there is a paternity question surrounding that child as well.
Correct.
Is it the same man you were sleeping with during the time Harris was conceived?
No.
It is not?
No.
So it's a different guy?
Yes.
Poor Mr. Johnson, clearly having a hard time. This evil deception left him speechless. Here he was having doubts over one kid. Turns out that the kid he was sure about was also doubtful. That was quite harsh.
I kind of feel hurt.
You say you feel hurt because you felt like what?
That was my baby, and I didn't feel like she was cheating at the time with London.
So at that time, you really had no real clues that she was sleeping with anybody else?
That's right.
But your sister has been honest today, and I presume she's been honest with you.
Yes.
I have. So your sister has told you that, bro, I don't think either one. I think there's a question on both.
Dear Lord woman, take some pity on the baby daddy. It seemed the plaintiff didn't have a one-time thing with the other guy. Nope, it was more, and it continued till the second baby even. Mr. Johnson was definitely in a world of pain over this.
It was pretty much a relationship.
It was pretty much a relationship.
Yes.
That you were having outside of the relationship you had with Mr. Johnson.
Yes, I've been actually knowing him before I met him.
Has the other guy, has this other person, has he ever met London?
Yeah, he met her.
When he saw her, did he say anything to the effect that he believes he may be her biological father?
No, he never thought that he was the father.
It was time to end this paternity saga of betrayal and heartache. Mr. Johnson was here for some answers, and Judge Lake had those for him. Paris and London, both babies' lives were at stake here. Here we go.
Mr. Johnson, you are the father. Both of those beautiful little babies are yours.
I'm happy now. My stomach done stopped bubbling.
A family on the brink of being broken. In a desperate attempt, the husband brought his wife to court in the hopes of saving his family. On the other hand, the baby mama wasn't so sure about the plaintiff's claim.
You are here to prove you are the biological father of the defendant's 2-month-old son, Noah. You claim you have loved and taken care of baby Noah since the day he was born. You are certain the results will confirm paternity and will save your family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
By the looks of it, the marriage was already on a rocky road. So much so that these guys separated officially. And then the wife's dalliance began with the other guy. Well, she sure moved on fast. But that speed led them straight to the paternity court.
After he came out, they handed him to me.
You signed the birth certificate?
Yeah, acknowledgement of paternity. And he's got my last name.
You've been there for this child since he was born.
Yes.
But you heard in the opening statement, Ms. McElhone does admit that she had a brief affair.
Yes.
But you still believe Noah's your biological child.
Yes, I do.
Next up, Mr. Tisdale came prepared with a calendar. Now, this calendar held a wealth of information, all the times these guys did the hanky-panky during separation. Furthermore, the husband recalled the time Ms. McElhone ended up crushing his heart.
When we were split up and back together.
All right.
And when we were having sex, and then obviously it says right there.
So Noah was born May 2nd, 2018.
Yes.
When you count back, you believe he was conceived during the time when you had already gotten back together, right?
Yes.
The baby daddy already had a abode established with baby Noah. Clearly, a lot was on the line for him. The other guy threatened to unravel that bond and everything. The defendant wanted their bond to continue flourishing. Well, we see how that goes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, why did you say that? Had it been weighing on your heart?
Yes, Your Honor, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings because I've always wanted to give Mr. Tisdale what he's always wished for. And I was uncertain of if he was the father or if the other partner I was sleeping with was the father of my newborn.
Would this be the guy when you broke up with him and went off with that guy?
Yes, Your Honor.
You thought he could be the child's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was time to bring the other guy into the courtroom. He had a much bigger role in this story than anticipated. Moreover, he had quite a few revelations when he narrated the incident of how he got the news of pregnancy. Poor Mr. Tisdale didn't see this blow coming.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. How did you find out she was pregnant?
Basically, we both thought that she was pregnant because she was having like weird cravings and stuff. So she went to the store to get like a pregnancy test, and she went back home and used it, and it came out negative. And then she threw it away, but something in my head told me to go pick it back up, and it was positive.
Oh, you were with her when she found out she was pregnant.
Are you serious?
Next up, we saw one crushing blow after another in the courtroom. Mr. Revere was full of shocking things to say about the baby mama, and all this news was taking a heavy toll on the baby daddy. He was beyond miserable at this point.
Oh, really?
Oh.
When's the last time you were intimate with Ms. McElhone?
The night we flew a plane to here on Tuesday night.
On Tuesday night?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
Ever since June 1st, within those 3 weeks, like almost every night we were intimate.
Absolutely not.
Ever since when?
June 1st.
She went down to Shamokin to see her family.
Mr. Revere seemed pretty confident about his testimony, even though the baby mama was denying it left and right. And when I say this testimony was enlightening, you better believe me. Baby Noah was also named by this dude, apparently. Yeesh!
So you've developed a relationship with Noah as well?
Yes. Me and her decided about that name, Noah.
What? That
It
is
was
a
supposed
lie.
to be Noah Jason Revere, but it's Noah Anthony Tisdale.
It's Noah Jason Anthony Tisdale.
So wait, you think you named the baby?
Yeah, we both agreed on it.
Are you serious?
I named him Noah because me and Mark agreed to name him Noah.
Moving on, Mr. Revere came prepared. He was so sure that he administered a lie detector test upon himself, and he did all this to prove he said nothing but the truth in this court. Well, the results of those tests were in as well. Let's hear it. This was one cunning baby mama.
Question number 1, Mr. Revere, you were asked, since Ms. McElhone got back together with her fiance Mark Tisdale last year, have you had sexual intercourse with her? You said yes. The lie detector determined you were being truthful.
Ms. McElhone indeed had a lot of nerve, man. Like, seriously. And she showed no remorse. While Mr. Tisdale was broken beside him, she played him like a fiddle when he was at her beck and call the entire pregnancy. Harsh with a capital H.
You just gave birth. They just sewed you up.
Can't get enough.
Right?
Just like you couldn't get enough of me.
I mean,
every night you
yeah.
cheated on me. Maybe that's probably why, in reality,
Is that
I
why
went
you
back
cheated on
to
me with him? Because he cheated on you with somebody else? Doesn't make sense. Pennsylvania people.
Truth's coming out.
It is. I guess it took for us to come here for everything to come out, huh?
Poor Mr. Tisdale had enough torment in one day. The ugly truth came out, and it was devastating for these guys. But the baby Noah's fate was still on the line. He was waiting for a father, so let's give him one.
The biological father is Mr. Revere. Mr. Tisdale, I'm very sorry. Do you have any words to describe what you're feeling in this moment?
I'm sorry.
You ain't never gonna change.
I mean, you can say otherwise, but I am.
You're not.
And I completely understand if you can't forgive me.
You something else.
The defendant has been harboring paternity doubts since she was practically a kindergartner, like 5 years old. Yep, she was that little when she got swept into this paternity saga. But now the plaintiffs regretted their actions and wanted to prove to her that he was indeed her father.
Mr. Taylor, you claim that you've always believed and never doubted that the defendant, Jasmine Taylor, is your biological daughter. You hope today's results will put an end to Jasmine's doubts so the two of you can work on rebuilding your relationship. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The seed of doubt took root, and it got deeper in the last 20 years. The daughter wanted answers now, but Mr. and Mrs. Taylor were knee-deep in regret. Well, when you end up ringing that bell, it's hard to go back from there then. Now they were definitely facing the music.
I made a mistake. I said some things out of spite because he no longer wanted to be with me. I did have a relationship with somebody else. I had sex with him one time.
So you admit you made very critical mistakes.
Yeah.
And Ms. Taylor, you say because of that and because of what you heard, you don't believe Mr. Taylor is your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we are about to dive headfirst into the nitty-gritty of this roller coaster of a relationship. Ms. Aris shared her version of the time they first met and started having fun. But as it turned out, Mommy was having the best of both worlds, apparently. Let's see.
We were dating, we broke up, and it was a guy that one of my girlfriends introduced me to because I thought I was going to get into the record industry, So I started, letting him come around, chill out. Wasn't having sex with him or anything, but he was giving me money, paying $400 a week and coming over. So
you, bottom line is you were in a relationship with Mr. Taylor, dating, but you met this guy who was kind of whining and dining you.
Moving on, it was only fair that Mr. Dallas got to state his case too. While the baby mama was having fun, he thought he was in a committed relationship. Mrs. Taylor sure knew how to make a mess of things. Though she said she was 5% in doubt, we know that's enough to cause a paternity ruckus, and Tada, it did. Tada should be said in a slightly loud and surprised manner as intended.
We was in a committed relationship, but we was just living in 2 different states at the time. Then she told me she was pregnant.
Okay.
Then I decided to move her back to Maryland at that time.
All right, so at the time she told you she was pregnant, you all were in 2 different states?
Yeah.
Okay, so this all sounds like it's going just fine.
Yes, everything going.
So were you at the birth?
Yes, I was at the birth.
You signed the birth certificate?
Signed the birth certificate, the whole 9.
So you're there?
Yes.
Time to drop some truth bombs on the potential father and the daughter. Yep, Ms. Aris laid it all out for these guys. It seemed she did take the other baby daddy in the loop as well as took a surprise visit, which the father-daughter duo had no idea about. Till now, of course.
He wouldn't even want me. He wouldn't even want to bring me back. And I wanted to be back in a relationship with him and hopefully to get married. We did get married.
I get it. We're here to tell the truth. No reason to come all the way to paternity court and then get to lying.
Right.
That is counterproductive.
Right.
So the truth is you didn't say anything to Mr. Taylor, but you knew it could be a viable possibility.
Exactly.
Now, did you ever tell that other guy, I am pregnant?
Truth time was continuing in the paternity court. Oh yeah, the baby daddy initially didn't think of him not being the father a big deal. However, that certainly didn't remain the case when he got to know the real reason.
Well, at that time, when she told me that, that I may not be the father, then it wasn't that big of a deal to me. The only thing that makes somebody care in that situation is money. So when we wasn't together, and that's when all the problems came, because when we wasn't together, and then it's all about child support net. So I'm like, okay, then that's when the problem came about.
Well, the child support news ended up breaking Ms. Jasmine. Understandably so. Saw it coming a mile away. But most importantly, she had to understand one important detail of her birth certificate. And that's where Judge Alake came in. She made the defendant understand what was going on, that the parents failed to comprehend.
She just oh, well, hey, after, when I was 5, he had, took my sister and told him that I wasn't his daughter. So of course, I'm like, well, I obviously got another dad out here somewhere, so it has to be, I didn't just get here, we ain't go to a clinic and just make me, so it gotta be another father somewhere. So she finally just opened her mouth and said, well, this other guy, it's a possibility that he could be your father.
Poor Ms. Jasmine couldn't catch a break. She contacted the other potential baby daddy, but encountered nothing but radio silence from there. Yeah, the guy pulled that stunt. That ended up devastating her more, as all she ever wanted was to know where she belonged. She wasn't asking for a lot here, folks.
Reached out to him and wrote him a message, because I just wanted to know. I was like,
You had his name?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get it from?
Oh, my mom.
So she gave you the name?
Yeah.
And then you went on Facebook and found him?
Mm-hmm.
Sent him a message?
Yeah, I sent him a message.
And he responded back. What did he say?
He didn't respond. He blocked me.
So you submitted that message to the court. Let's look at that.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote, I just really want to know who my real father is.
All of this took a toll on this whole family here. There were tears and cries in all three of them. Moreover, Mr. Dallas had a heartfelt moment with the daughter and he poured his heart out. Yep, come on people, let those emotions out. Ain't no use keeping them hidden in this court, right?
Talks to me about Jasmine. Why won't Jasmine talk to me? He loves her. He wants that to be his daughter.
So,
he feels that it's his daughter. He'll do anything and everything for Jasmine. He really cares.
This paternity doubt has really destroyed your relationship.
Oh yeah, and I probably just didn't even want to even discuss it at that time because it didn't.
There you go. Be honest. Be honest.
It didn't even matter anyway. This didn't matter about that to me.
The tension was palpable. The emotions were running high. Every eye was on that envelope in the judge's hand. Whether the results would finally clear up the paternity doubt once and for all, or Ms. Jasmine was in for a world of more pain, we are about to find out.
Mr. Taylor, you are not the father. Oh. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry, Jasmine. You can say that. That's what we do in this courtroom.